Good to see all of you here today. So glad you're taking the time for yourself. Restore yourself a little bit today. That's so, so important. So I hope you find all this content beneficial. I am recording this, so there will be a link to this in the Lifesaver newsletter that comes out as a second part of our next campaign. But if you need anything immediately, feel free to email me and I can get that to you if you want to rewatch it or if you want to share it with a friend. I'm happy to share the information. So we are 1 minute after, so I am going to kick us off. So I am Linda Golick. I'm the health and well-being consultant at Amplify Health. And today we are talking about purpose, meaning, and spirit, strengthening the inner core. Such an important topic. So when we think about health and well-being, we think about all these different dimensions. And one of the dimensions that really is a big piece is our purpose and our spiritual well-being. So we're going to kind of dive into that today. Carrie is helping me today watch the chat because the way my screens are, I won't see the chat while I'm presenting. But if anybody has anything immediate, feel free, put it in the chat, we'll address it. And then also feel free to unmute yourself too if you want to talk or share something. So let's dive in. So I want you to think about your inner core. What does that mean to you? What does that encompass? Because I think what is going on the inside of us often gets shown on the outside. So if we really want to change ourselves sometimes, we have to start with what's going on inside. So let's talk about what is this concept, this spiritual well-being? Well, it can mean a couple different things, and it's different to everybody. It might be all of these, it might be some of these, but it's really that sense of purpose and meaning that we have in our lives. It's often a connection to something larger than ourselves. That's why I love this graphic, this person standing in a vast forest looking upwards, something larger than ourselves. It could be nature, faith, humanity, our values. It often has to do with bringing us inner peace and being in alignment with our beliefs and values. That's spiritual well-being. And then the important thing to note is it doesn't have to be limited to religion. It can be religious for people, but it doesn't have to be. So I want to show you this graphic that I think portrays that really well. So we think about spirituality maybe versus religious. And spiritual maybe tends to be a little bit more personal and flexible, meaning focused. Religion may be a little bit more, as people perceive it, to be structured and organized. And those are just some general words. There are religions that aren't that either. But really, those two intersect in the way that they bring about community and they bring about purpose. So depending on where you're joining us today and what your beliefs are and the things that you are structured towards, you can think about how this aligns for you. I love talking about how spiritual wellness affects our health. So at the end of the day, everything that we talk about in terms of our wellness programming and everything we really do as a healthcare system is we're connecting it back to our health and how that all connects. So look at how spiritual wellness does affect our health. So it can boost our mental clarity and bring us emotional balance. It is absolutely a helper to managing stress and anxiety. When people feel centered in something, when they feel like they believe in something bigger, it really brings down that anxiety and stress. We step outside of our little piece of the world, right? It also brings about a sense of purpose. So you know that maybe you're here for something larger, not just to serve yourself, but perhaps to serve the other things that you value and you believe in. And then it strengthens our resilience and our hope by looking towards something bigger. So why does this all matter? Well, think about the effects of that. Think again of what that brings about. It can improve our mental and emotional health. It helps support our resilience and our ability to cope in this very stressful world. It enhances relationships, brings about that bigger sense of overall well-being. Talked about the reduction in stress and anxiety. We have better focus and clarity. Improving relationships, which is kind of the same as enhancing relationships. Sorry about the the repeat there. Relationships are very important, my friends. We're really going to focus on that. And then the greater life satisfaction. So here are kind of the big chunks of the components of spiritual well-being. And I invite you to think about in your own life, in your own world, what does this look like for you? As you're looking at these 5, you can start to think about, is there one that maybe you'd like to focus on, an area of growth that you would like to look at? So we have purpose and meaning, values and beliefs, connection to ourselves, to others, to nature, mindfulness and awareness, and compassion and gratitude. So then how does this really show up in our day-to-day lives as we're doing all the things and following our checklists and trying to maintain sanity and all the things we have to get done? What does this really look like? Well, purpose and alignment at work, that can be a piece of spirituality. At home, it may show up in our relationships, the values that we have, maybe the values that we are trying to teach to our children. And then when life throws challenges at us, how is our resilience and how is our perspective? Because spirituality can very much change your perspective on how you perceive the things that are going on around you. So I want to introduce to you what I found to be a really cool concept and just a great way for all of us to think about spirituality, maybe in a little bit different way than we have in the past. And I'm going to introduce you to someone that came up with this idea of spiritual hygiene. So spiritual hygiene being just like a hygiene practice where it is something that we do consistently over and over and over again. So rather than looking at spirituality as something that is kind of untouchable, we bring it into a practical level of what are the things that we do on a consistent basis to keep ourselves well in this area. So it's kind of like other areas of well-being. It's small, consistent habits that bring these things out. And some examples of it may be reflection, prayer, meditation, gratitude. But the person that came up with this really cool concept is Ayandala Vincent. And I'm going to show you a clip of her on the Oprah podcast. If you know anything about me, you know I'm a huge fan of Oprah and her podcast, and she just continues to bring on these great guests. But Ayandala has been a guest of hers for years and years and years, and she's written several books, and her most recent book is this practice of spiritual hygiene. So I wanted to show a piece of this video to help all of us maybe learn a little bit more about where she is coming from and what this is going to look like and how we may be able to apply it. So we're going to watch this video for a couple minutes. Carrie, if you can unmute and let me know if you can't hear it. Otherwise, I'm just going to let it play.
I want to share how you begin spiritual hygiene because it's such a helpful analogy, I think. You say, you brush your teeth and you wash your body every single day. We do, right? You can see all these people are all brushed up in here to prevent diseases and stay clean. But what do you do every day to heal your soul? Mm-hmm. I love the term spiritual hygiene.
Yes.
How did it come to you?
Well, really, it's something that I had done, just checking in with my mind, my heart, my body every single day, and to stay clean.
Yeah.
And I knew when I was dirty, when I was feeling dirty, thinking dirty, behaving in dirty ways. We won't have that conversation. But I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, I said, okay, let me do my hygiene. I got to be on top of my hygiene.
Born into poverty, Iyanla Benzant, whose birth name was Rhonda, says her mother was an alcoholic and died when she was 3 years old. Iyanla was raised by her grandmother, who Iyanla says neglected and physically abused her. At age 9, Iyanla was raped by an uncle. She became a mother at 16, and by the age of 21, Iyanla was raising 3 children. In 2003, Iyanla Van Zant lost her eldest daughter, Jamia. She died from a rare type of colon cancer at the age of 31. And in 2023, Iyanla's daughter, Nisa, passed away. She was 48 years old. Iyanla also has a son, Damon.
Jamia had good spiritual hygiene. Nisa, on the other hand, did not. And I began to say, you've got to clean that up. You've got to clean that up. And so it kind of stuck.
One of the things you say in the book, I mean, it really, when I read the sentence where you say, I can't bury another child.
I cannot do it.
But Iyanla has lost another child. She lost her daughter, Nisa, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's the interesting thing you say in the book that you weren't prepared for the first loss with Jamia. And then when Nisa became ill and you realized that she was going, tell us about that.
Because I had good spiritual hygiene, one thing spiritual hygiene does is it gets you clear.
Yeah.
You don't see through distortion or illusion. And the key ingredient of spiritual hygiene is truth. You tell the truth. So just based on what I was seeing and sensing and feeling, I said, oh my God, she's not gonna make it through this. I knew it.
What was she going through?
Diabetes. But she was a non-compliant diabetic. She was in total denial. So she wouldn't accept the fact. And I taught her that, Oprah. I talk about that in the book.
Yeah.
I taught her that anything less than perfection and performance cannot be tolerated. And so she wouldn't acknowledge, she wouldn't care for, she wouldn't do what was required to manage and to embrace the diabetes. So she was non-compliant. And so many people are.
Right.
I would love to watch that whole thing, but we only have a half an hour. A couple things really stood out to me from that video clip was this idea, and I don't want it to be about her daughter being diabetic, but just this idea of kind of when something isn't aligned on the inside, I think it shows itself on the outside. And so I think what she's referring to is that her daughter wasn't well on the inside either and didn't like accept her condition and embrace the condition and do something about the condition. And then that came evident on the outside. So I just wanted to play a little clip of that, but I do encourage you all to look it up because there's a lot of just like cool revelations in this podcast on how this spiritual hygiene actually plays out in real life for a lot of different people. But we'll do a little Cliff Note edition, and you all can read the book too if you'd like to, but I'm going to go through what some of this includes. And again, I just encourage all of us to just kind of reflect in these moments and think about, is there something that I would like to work on? Where can I start in terms of improving my spiritual well-being, or what she refers to as spiritual hygiene? So there's a lot included in this. We're going to go through, these are the broad categories, and then we'll drill down a little bit on these. But it includes things like awareness of your thoughts and emotions, letting go of resentment, connection to a higher purpose, inventory self-reflection, service to others, managing our ego, staying present, building those healthy habits, honesty and integrity, and then community and connection. So let's drill this down a little bit. So awareness of thoughts and emotions. So really paying attention to that negative thinking or patterns. I heard a quote recently that I really liked, where your focus goes, your energy flows. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. So whatever you focus on is where your energy will go. So if you're focusing on negative things, that's where your energy is going to go. So I thought that was kind of a good thing. But the unchecked thoughts can really affect our behaviors and our well-being. And then practice observing those thoughts and then not letting them control you. Because all of us have the tendency to probably have more negative thinking. That's actually our biology. That's a survival mechanism, but we got to check it. We got to kind of stop it. And that's something that we can work on to improve spirituality. Letting go of resentment. So holding on to that anger, that just really festers itself and can just interrupt our inner peace. So part of letting go, forgiveness is emphasized in her readings, and then regular mental clearing to prevent emotional buildup. And however that can be done for you, mental clearing, writing things out, talking to someone, crying at a movie. A lot of things can kind of do some mental clearing for us. Connection to that higher purpose, and we kind of talked about this, but really connecting to something bigger than you yourself. Asking yourself, well, why am I here? And what's my purpose of being here? And how do I live that out? What do my values look like? Just whatever belief of a higher power that you may have, thinking about that. And then how do you connect to that? Doing your own inventory and self-reflection, regularly taking a look at yourself without harsh judgment. That is so important because all of us are so critical of ourselves. We are all works in progress, and I think we all will be till the day we're not here anymore. Really thinking about what's going on with you and what did I do well? Where did I fall short? What can I improve? And this can be personally and professionally, right? So maybe you had a recent interaction with your child and you stepped away from that and you thought, okay, I could have done better on that. Maybe I didn't use the language I wanted to use. Maybe it got escalated. I didn't want that to happen. Well, that's an opportunity to reflect and think about what could be different next time. So, fail forward, they always call that, right? We're going to make mistakes, but how do we learn from them and take them forward? Service to others. There's so much great data on how beneficial it is to serve others. It's a major boost in oxytocin, which is one of those really feel-good chemicals that we have going on in our bodies, and helping others just boosts that. And that can be a part of spiritual wellness. Being kind and being of service to others. It gets us out of our own heads, makes us think broader about what's going on around us, and just really is another beautiful way to connect with other human beings. Social connections and relationships is such a huge need for us as human beings. Even if you are an introvert, maybe, it's done in different ways for different people, but that human connection is really important to wellness. So thinking about what can that look like? And maybe it's being of service to others. Managing that ego, and that's a tough thing, right? Like we all have ego, we all want to feel good and proud of ourselves, but one of our values at Amplify Health is humility, and I love that. That's one of our values. So how do we think about being humble in our place in the world and being open, and then being willing to learn and to change, because we're always learning and we're always changing, and the world around us is always changing. So we change along with it. So managing that ego and really asking ourselves, how can I do better? A big part of spiritual well-being in my mind too is this idea of staying present. We can spend a lot of energy thinking about what went wrong yesterday and then worrying about what's happening tomorrow. But in essence, all we have is truly what is going on right now. So how do we focus on that and have that one day at a time mindset, which really does bring about a calmness and some clarity. If I'm just here in this moment, focusing on this webinar, not thinking about what happened yesterday, not worrying about what I have to do tomorrow, how much better is that for me? And how much better is that for you as the audience, that I'm just focused on what's going on right now in this moment? It's a little bit of a superpower if you can do it. I think it brings about great peace. One of my favorite ways to stay present, honestly, is working on a puzzle, because I find when I'm working on a puzzle, I'm just really in that moment and I'm not worrying about everything else. So find those things for yourself. What keeps you present? And of course, it connects to building healthy habits, because if we're looking at the idea of routine, hygiene is a routine. And I have said for years, before I ever heard Ayundala on Oprah's podcast, this idea of wellness is like sunscreen. You have to keep reapplying it. It's not a one and done. It's a practice. It's behaviors and habits and all of those things wrapped up. So, how do we do that spiritually? Can we set a morning intention? What's something that we can just do every single day to kind of start our day peaceful? Maybe not on our phones because that disrupts our brains. Maybe just, sitting with that cup of coffee for a minute or two and thinking about what we want that day to look like, or reflecting at the end of the day, or doing some type of daily gratitude practice. And it can be written down, but it doesn't have to be. Maybe it's something as simple as when you're brushing your teeth at night, thinking about what was good about that day, what happened in that day that you are grateful for. Values are a big piece of spiritual well-being. So living in alignment with your values, being who you are, being honest about who you are, having the integrity of what you believe in is super important, because when we're dishonest or when we're doing something that isn't in alignment with our values and with our integrity, that's going to cause conflict. And now what we have going on the inside is different than what's going on the outside. And that's a problem. That's a problem. So all of us need to just really own who we are and try to be in alignment with that as much as possible. And that's going to bring about some peace. That's really going to bring about some peace. Community and connection. So important to have a community, be connected to other people, sharing in things that you believe in. It can be something that's an exercise group, a book group, a running group, a group at your church. All of those things bring about community and connection. It can even be among your neighbors, right? Having connection with your neighbors. And it's so important to surround yourself with supportive people. And I know that there are folks that sometimes get a little bummed out because they think maybe they haven't been born into families that are supportive, or they're maybe in environments where they feel like they don't have support. And maybe all of us feel that way sometimes, but the key is to find the people that do support you. Find the people that do support you, find those people that are in alignment with you, and that's really going to enrich your life. Because the last thing we want is isolation, right? If we isolate ourselves and we step away from everything, we start to get lonely, and that's going to take a toll on our health and well-being, and we don't want that. So then what are the signs that you really do have that strong spiritual well-being? And this can be, a little bit of a checklist for us again, and we can evaluate, like, do I have this going on? Do I need to work on something? So thinking about, do you have that sense of purpose? Do you have some inner calm and some resilience? Do you have strong values that guide the decisions that you make on a daily basis? Do you feel connected? Do you feel gratitude, and do you feel compassion for other people? Those are some signs that you would be on the stronger end of spiritual well-being. Some signs that it may be lacking, and some opportunity to address this and think about what you can do to improve this, is feeling lost or disconnected. Feeling like you don't have that sense of purpose, feeling some inner conflict or some stress. Loneliness, despite having social contact, you feel lonely, and that's an indicator of maybe you need different relationships and different social contact. And then if you're having difficulty coping with whatever life is throwing at you, that may be an indicator as well. So how do we start to improve our spiritual well-being? Well, Couple actionable items that you can look at. Maybe it can be a time of reflection. So journaling or quiet time, maybe starting on meditation. And we're going to do a little meditation together. Spending some time in nature, just being in nature, looking around. I mean, nature is amazing. If you really focus on, isn't it magnificent how beautiful the stars are? Isn't it amazing how the sun rises and sets every day? Just spending some time in nature, practicing gratitude again, thinking about what we're grateful for, doing acts of kindness, and just being kind to the people that are surrounding us. And whether that be the person checking you out at the grocery store or the person that you're working with, thinking about how you can be kind. Connecting with things in the community can really improve spiritual well-being, as well as exploring personal values. So we're going to do just a quick little meditation. This is an opportunity for all of us to take a moment, take a breath, lower our cortisol levels, lower our blood pressure, kind of reset us for the rest of the day. So we're just going to all do this together.
Welcome to today's guided meditation. In honor of National Relaxation Day, we are going to take some time to let go of any stress and worries. Just be present in our bodies and remind ourselves of what is true in this moment. Begin in a comfortable position with eyes closed. Connect with your body, feeling where you are in space. Take a deep breath in and send yourself gratitude for finding the time in your busy day to relax. And deep breath out, letting go of any stress and worries from the day. Allow yourself to sit with any negative feelings you may be moving through right now. Where do you feel them in your body? Breathe into that space deeply. And as you release your breath, let go of your worries. Imagine them floating away, being carried far away by your breath. Let go a little more each time you breathe. Breathing in and out. In and out. Connect again with your breath, feeling the gentle rise and fall of your chest. Breathing in and out. In and out. Come back again to your body, feeling where you are in space. Move about in any way that feels good. And whenever you are ready, slowly open your eyes.
Great. I hope you all enjoyed that and found a little calmness. Just some things to wrap us up today, some parting thoughts and reflections. I'd like for all of you to, think about this. What gives your life meaning? When do you feel the most connected or at peace? And what does spirituality mean to you? So just some things to consider as we wrap up today. Some key takeaways. Spiritual well-being is about meaning. It doesn't have to be about religion. It supports that resilience and fulfillment. Small daily practices can make a difference, and everyone can develop it in their own way. And just some resources to leave you with. Just think about some free things that may be out there. Like I said, it could be a community group, it could be a book club, other support groups, prayer groups, meditation groups. Obviously, there's so much online if you want to start meditating. Lots of great resources online. And then also our behavioral health services and our spiritual support services, both in the Bellin region and Gunderson region, can also be a resource for all of you. Just a reminder, there's some podcasts out there that we produce that also are in alignment with this topic. So I had the pleasure of having Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum on with me. She's a holistic coach and former psychiatrist, and she has her own practice, and I interviewed her on spiritual well-being. That was really fun. And then I had a great conversation with a couple of our behavioral health therapists on the mental health moments. So feel free to look those up. And as always, there is my information. I think you all know how to get a hold of me, but please reach out if you have any questions. Stop sharing and just see if anyone has any questions. If you want to unmute yourself or put them in the chat, be happy to chat more. And I'm going to stick around for a minute. I learned something on a webinar that I kind of loved. It was the idea of the parking lot conversation. So often when we're virtual, we just, jump out. You don't have to do that today. If you want to stay and stick around for a minute and reflect and have a little conversation, it's like if we were leaving the building together and we ended up having a little conversation out in the parking lot. We'll have a little parking lot conversation here if anyone wants to chat more or reflect on anything that you heard today. I have some time and I'm happy to stick around and do that with you. For those of you that got to run, thanks for being here. And with that, if anyone wants to unmute or put something in the chat that you want to talk about further, feel free. Maria, the peaceful pause. Love that. Love that.